Welcome to this 2021 wrap-up video, everything HashiCorp, and some of it you may have missed. I'm just going to go through my tabs here, basically, with some of the highlights, talk about what I think was important in the year gone past. I'm going to start, first up, with Vault. It's been quite a year for Vault. So much I could highlight here. Well, I want to focus on how folks are running it as an officially supported service in production. Traditionally, that meant using Consul as a backend. That changed with the release of 1.7 earlier this year. Now the integrated storage or IS backend, sometimes called the Raft backend after the election or consensus algorithm that's at its heart. We now have another officially supported backend that can handle all your use cases. For those who'd been running Consul solely as a backend, this was big news, as it meant they could really simplify their Vault deployments without sacrificing any features. Check out this talk here, Brian Crossan's talk at HashiConf Global, for lots more details on what's involved in a Consul to IS backend migration. Terraform 1.0 was obviously huge news for 2021. But it was more of a statement of what you can expect and rely on now versus a feature extravaganza. Terraform 1.1, on the other hand, looks like it's going to be very cool indeed when it drops next year. I'm actually going to hand over to Ned Belvance for the details on this one. Ned does a great job of summarizing why now for 1.0. And also links to all the associated blog posts and related keynote on HashiCorp's sites. Next, I want to talk about Consul. All these links will be available, by the way, in the description. So yeah, no need to be furiously scratching things down or whatever. So yeah, Consul. 1.11 was announced at HashiConf Global, and with it, a significant new multi-tenancy feature called administrative partitions. But much like I was talking about with the Vault IS backend, administrative partitions drastically reduce the Consul infrastructure needed to run multiple tenants where responsibilities can be properly delegated without previous workarounds like what they called islands. Blake Covarrubias does a great job of explaining this, so I'm going to point you to his talk, pictured here. I'm a big fan of Blake's. I think he embodies a lot of what drew us all to the HashiStack. You know, he's always on their Discuss forum, trying to help folks out with their Consul challenges, and he's on Gitter too. He knows his stuff, but he's open about the limits of that, and he actually does come back with answers when he goes away. I mean, it's brilliant. Finally, as I went on at length about in my HashiConf global wrap-up video, if you saw that, there was a real theme of Consul and Kubernetes and the HashiStack and Kubernetes more generally at the conference. If you're in that space or thinking about entering it, there's some great talks to check out on the conf site. Okay, so rounding out the original HashiStack is Nomad. 1.0 was GA around this time last year, and with the announcement of 1.2 GA right after HashiConf Global, there were certainly reasons to be excited with new one-off batch jobs and an early look at Nomad Pack, a package manager for Nomad focused on reusable application deployments. For me, though, it was the work HashiCorp put in on documentation that really opened my eyes to the possibilities with Nomad. In particular, HashiCorp now has a lot of information on why you might choose Nomad over Kubernetes, or indeed why you might supplement Kubernetes with it, and just generally doing that tough translation work of explaining Nomad in the context of Kubernetes with its language. I'll link to a few posts in case that's of interest. This is kind of the core of it. You can get to all of it from this page here. So that's the original HashiStack. Next up, the new guys, Boundary. Another product that formed a lot of my HashiConf Global wrap-up video. I won't repeat myself here, but broadly, if you haven't been following its development, Boundary came a long way in 2021. They're now desktop clients for all 3 of the major platforms, and a new partnership with Microsoft around Zero Trust was a big part of the global keynote. My recommendation would actually be to have a look at the Boundary team's deep dive presentation. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. This talk was a highlight of the year for me, honestly. It really brought Boundary to the real world. I could see how I'd use it to simplify my own workflow while greatly improving the overall security posture of my employer at the same time. Just, yeah, check it out. They're obviously excited, and I want one of those t-shirts, by the way. Finally, I want to talk about the HashiCorp Cloud Platform, or HCP. Again, a lot's happened in 2021 with HashiCorp clearly listening to the early feedback from clients. I actually participated in a user research session on it, which was a really neat experience. The announcement of HCP Packer as a means of simplifying your HCP workflows really reflected this real-world emphasis again for me. There's lots happening with Packer, and I'd recommend both of Megan Marsh's talks. She's really down to earth and just gets it. Gets what we want to hear in a talk, but also just gets the product, and it's just super passionate. It's awesome to see. So yeah, she did 2 talks at Global in Europe on HCP Packer and the road to Packer 2.0 at Europe. So check those out if that's piqued your interest. Oh yeah, yeah. Here's her Packer talk. So okay, that's it for me. Hopefully you found that useful. I don't want to, didn't want to take too much of your time, but just thought I'd give you a few pointers. I'll close with 2 other talks that I really enjoyed this year. For those who've stuck with me to the end. First one is Vodafone's talk at Global. I like the transition here from traditional monitoring to observability as code. It was really informative, but just as cool from my perspective was Luan's experience with their private module registry and how a producer-consumer model grew, much to their surprise and delight. I think this is quite obvious, really, that it would happen. Like it just makes sense to me. But at the same time, it was so cool to see that, in a customer experience. So yeah, I like that talk for a number of reasons. I think I must have passed it on to people a few times already, just this week. Anyway, number 2, the other one is the talk on Consul-Terraform-Sync. They're Zelda fans. How can you not like that? You gotta watch this talk just for that. I love that. Anyway, but yeah, so I think network automation is going to be really important in the year ahead, and CTS made great strides again in 2021. But this talk is a great intro and a great demo combined. I mean, what more can you ask for? I really recommend it. Okay, that's a wrap. Take care all. And I hope you can enjoy a bit of a break soon as we head into 2022. Who knows what's ahead? All right, later.